Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another live edition of Mic'd Up Sports, the show that goes in depth with the people who build our sports community. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thanks for joining us. And if you're following us on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, we're glad you can join us there as well. We've got a familiar guest returning to share her experience of the past season and give us a glimpse of the future. NJ Weems, we had her on last year as she finished up her high school career at De La Salle. She played one season at Moberly Area Community College. And NJ, as soon as you set foot on that campus, I remember you were getting offers to play at full Division I schools. And as we can see with your apparel, she will be playing at Lamar University in Texas next season. So NJ, unless that's some secret deception ploy, you're there. Well, that's where we can find you. So thanks for coming back on. And what would you make of the last season? Because if I recall, the JUCO season usually mirrors the Division I season, but you got a late start. I think you finished up play around the spring. And at the same time, you were fielding Division I offers before you even played a game. Obviously, this last season was nothing like any we have seen before, but what was your experience?
Well, first, I just want to say thanks for having me on today. But my overall experience, I think it was great. It was fun being there. It was definitely something new. It wasn't that hard of a transition just because we were at like the peak of or like right when COVID started. So we had already been out of school. We've had our championship game canceled. And then so we were already going by those guidelines by the time I got to school. So it was really nothing new. The only thing that was like new or like kind of different to me was probably like the workload with college classes and also like the workout load as far as basketball. Because I feel like high school, you can kind of slide your way through, find little loopholes in there, especially with schoolwork. And also the training and stuff isn't as intense. So that'd probably be the two major differences when I was at Moberly versus De La Salle.
So when you started your classes at Moberly, how fluid was the situation? Because we had a huge spike in cases in the winter, and that threatened a lot of seasons. There were several Division I teams on the men's and women's side who chose to opt out of the season. The Ivy League didn't have a season. Other teams decided to cancel midway through. What was your situation at Moberly?
So like when we first got there, it was a lot of COVID. We seen a lot of teams being canceled, a lot of seasons being canceled. So like the players and I, we were just, waking up every day wondering if our season was going to get canceled next. It is kind of scary to think about, but luckily we were fortunate enough not to have our season canceled. So that was probably just the biggest thing with that. Just wondering every day, like you never know if your season can end like the very next day or games could cancel left and right, stuff like that.
How concerned were you about that? And on top of that, there's still a virus going around, and it still is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as crazy as it was maybe this time last year, but you're having to navigate a lot and try to keep yourself safe.
Right. It was just scary because you never know like who could have it, where it can be, how you can catch it. So even going like to the calf was dangerous for us because, outside workers are coming and serving us food. And that's just scary to think about. There were other kids on campus who would come use the library or take or go to classes on the campus. So coming into contact with them was also dangerous. We just had to be very cautious because anything could go wrong, especially like with COVID being around. One of us catches it, we all have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and that's missing games and practices. So we just had to make sure we were extra cautious.
What would you say was the toughest part about navigating all of that last season, trying to stay on top of your workouts and your games, trying to make sure you were on top of your classes? And as you said, you also had to be mindful and diligent. What was the most difficult part about this past season and having to operate under all of these protocols?
I guess just remaining focused, not letting it get to me like mentally or like distract me from schoolwork or like while I'm on the court, not let it get in the way of how I practice, how I perform, and then school wise, not letting it affect my grades, my study habits, and stuff like that. Just trying to stay uh crap, drew a blank, but just trying to stay focused on this stuff.
That's okay. There are no penalties for drawing a blank on this
Right.
podcast, NJ. I've had many of those moments since I started this series a couple years ago. Uh, while there was a lot to be watchful for and a lot to be careful about, there were some positives too. As we were saying
Mhm.
at the start, even before you played a game, you were getting offers. Of course, we had you on last year, and that was your plan to go Division 1,
Yep.
but things took a detour, if I recall, where maybe you didn't get the offers you were looking for and decided to give the JUCO route a try. So what was that process like? You're doing what you can, of course, to represent Moberly well and yourself well, but to get offers right away, you know, coaches, scouts hadn't even
Mhm.
seen your college footage yet, and there was still enough interest for several of them to extend an offer to you. What was that process like, effectively having to go through recruiting again?
This time around, it was way more stressful just because it was way more schools coming to me, talking to me, offering different things. But I was lucky enough to have my coaches with me, my parents with me, and my brothers with me, who are all in like sports background, basketball background, who just grew up around it. So they definitely did make the process easier than what originally was. But yeah, definitely way more stressful this time around.
What added to the stresses compared to your recruitment in high school?
Just how there were more like factors in play, or how well, me, I just didn't want to make anybody upset either, but I knew that comes with it, so I was gonna have to make those breakup calls with people when it was time to make a decision.
So, how many schools reached out to you while you were playing at Moberly, and what led you to settle on Lamar? Because if I recall, I know at least one other school that gave you an offer because the head coach is a pen pal of mine, and I remember you tweeting out a few schools who said, "Hey, we would like to add you." Overall, how many gave you an offer, and how did Lamar stand out?
um I think maybe like 7 offers, I believe, or something like that, something around there. And then Lamar stood out. They recruited me. um I just say like they were the most consistent, because a lot of coaches who were like offered early on like lost contact and didn't stay in touch as much. But I know anything could have happened. COVID stuff was stressful during the season. But yeah, Lamar, they still found ways to contact me, get my family involved, and stuff like that. They were trying to build a bond with my family just as much as they try to build a bond with me. So I did like that. And also, my mom is currently down in Texas. She moved down there, so now I have someone closer to me, and my brother as well is down there too. So I have those two next to me. And then during the holidays, I just have to fly back up to see my dad and the rest of my brothers that are up here.
Well, so you're going to have a cheering section when you start playing
Mhm.
games down there.
Yep.
And I've got a few friends in Texas as well. I might have to pay a visit. Or NJ, if you happen to know if Lamar needs any broadcasters for this next season, I tease, of course. I
I'll
actually,
put in a good word.
I was going to say I do tease because I think if that were to happen, you'd have to compete with all the parents and coaches up here who want me out there. Uh, I've had more than a few that saw me at AAU and said, "Oh, it's great to see you back in the gym. We hope to see you in the winter." I'm going,
Right.
here we go again. But
Sounds busy.
I'll take it. Being at home sucked.
Right.
And I should make it clear, it's better than the alternative. I was able to at least avoid it long enough to get vaccinated to at least ensure I had protection, but it was hard. I like going to
Hmm.
games and I like meeting people such as yourself. And we've joked about this, and how I've gotten to know you long enough to understand how to say your name right. Because I remember seeing you
Right.
for the first time at De La Salle and no one really fed a pronunciation guide. So I just took a
Mhm.
guess. And then I
It's
find
all
out,
right.
oh, you don't even use that. You just use an initial.
Mhm.
With I don't know what your plans are after basketball, NJ, but when I realized you went by that, I'm going, yeah, yeah. Like you sound like you could be another partner or ally to Spider-Man, with MJ being one of his in the current line of films. I'm going,
Right.
you could, there's some branding opportunities with that.
I do like Spider-Man.
That's right. I think I remember one of your videos. You have an affinity for the Marvel films, if I'm correct.
Yep.
On the subject of branding, of course, there's still a lot to navigate, but one thing you will be eligible for now, if you decide to pursue that route, is NIL. You probably are aware that as of July 1st, college athletes are now eligible to participate and negotiate NIL deals and not have to worry about protocols, things like that. Of course, there's a lot to untangle or a lot to unpack with
Right.
that. So, uh, older folks of mine, even myself, have said, be cautious and just make sure you know what you're getting into. But knowing you have that opportunity, and from my understanding, a lot of female athletes like yourself are most marketable when they're in college. What excites you about that? And where do you see yourself potentially making use of it if the situation presents itself?
What excites me most is that I'll be able to, like make money off my name like early on rather than when I'm already like in my 20s or something. So that's exciting. And also I feel like it'll give me a head start on how to manage my money, how to budget, and how to save up for certain things once money gets rolling in. I'm able to contact with more people, more connects and stuff like that. Where I can see myself like being most successful with it is like basketball camps, um, like Coach Crystal, she's always having camps, and she does ask me if I want to work a lot. So I feel like that would be a good part for me. And then also reaching out for camps at my old high school, or even working with Tanisha again.
And even if nothing comes of it, I've noticed you're already starting to market yourself. I understand you are a burgeoning hairstylist now in the Twin Cities
Hmm.
area.
Yes, I do hair.
How long have you been doing that? And I guess how long have you been doing that professionally? Because people are coming to you. So this isn't just a side gig or uh, if you know what I'm saying,
Yep,
you're starting to make a name for yourself in ways outside of basketball. And you just finished your
yep.
first year of college.
I've been doing this since like my freshman year of high school. So quite some time, but like I'd always like have dolls laying around and stuff doing their hair, like a doll head. Or I practice on myself a lot, or my mom lets me practice on her too.
Well, I'm glad you have those folks, NJ, because you wouldn't go very far with me. So I hate to say I probably will not be a future customer of yours, but it's not because of your lack of skill. It's just I don't have much up there to work
It's all
with.
good.
What have you learned about that experience? So you've been doing it since freshman year, and you've been able to experiment with yourself, and others trust
Mhm.
you enough to try out different things. I recently watched the Good Hair documentary, I think a few months ago when it was on Pluto TV. That's something I'd wanted to see just to get an understanding of the the culture and everything that surrounds hairstyles. But for you, what sparked that interest to get into that field? Whether or not you do it professionally is up to you, but to at least get to the point where you've got clients now, what have you
Right.
learned from that experience?
Um, I guess I learned like I guess you could say like customer service, like just being, always nice to people, learn how, respect them and like, just adapt to different people, especially when I get new people or I'm taking in new heads and stuff like that. I yeah, overall I can help my adaptability and just being able to like work with different people, different hair types and stuff like that.
how important do you think it is to have yourself as a vessel? I'm not going to pretend I know everything about hair, especially in the Black community, but to have someone like yourself in an area that can get pretty intense with the amount of resources people will spend, the fact that people can go to you and trust you enough to get the job done, how important do you think it is to have someone like yourself in that field?
I think it's important because, I understand like the hair texture and stuff like that, what's good for the hair and what's not good for the hair. And it's also just a good, just to have some diversity, like any working field. So
And for any folks out there who might be watching and might be asking for tips, what are some tips or tricks you have learned from working on yourself, working with clients that you think have helped you in terms of promoting healthy hair?
um well, I just watch a lot of videos just so I can see like what works good on some hair versus what works good on like thicker hair, thinner hair, more curly, less curly. I'm always watching videos just so I can always find new ways to improve my hair journey and also try to help others with theirs, because I just learned there's always room for improvement. So the more I know, the better I can become and the better I can like teach others so that they can become better themselves.
I'm sensing you took a similar approach to basketball in terms of your development in that sport too. So perhaps a common bond between the two.
Mhm. I feel like a lot of the learning strategies are like interchangeable.
Now, of course, athletics and hairstyling, you're not going to get that much crossover, and no pun
Right.
intended, but
Mhm.
you do mention there is some interchangeability. So, what are some
Mhm.
common threads between the two that maybe folks wouldn't think about just offhand?
Like I just said, that there's always room for improvement on the court and when you're doing someone's hair. Especially also adaptability. Like from changing teams, I've always had to adapt to the new people because they're always from different, well, not always, but like different places, different backgrounds, especially now that I started playing in college, people from different states, and I might not know what they're like used to or like what they're accustomed to. So I feel like I have to adapt to them so that I can better understand them. And I guess the customer service too, just being nice to anybody that you come across, being willing to, just spread kindness to them, especially when you're meeting new teammates or when it's new customers. You gotta always be willing to, adapt to them so that they can feel more comfortable in the setting.
When you spoke of being nice to others, in my head, I'm going, yeah, I don't think that was ever a problem with you. At least
Hmm.
in the years I got to know you as an athlete at De La Salle, I'm like, yeah, I can't recall any moment where you weren't nice to others.
I
It-
try to be.
no, and I do mean that. Whether it's with me or with your teammates, I think I said this before, but even at your lowest points, your coaches and your teammates and the people who supported you stuck with you. They always had something nice to say. And I think it was even a couple of years ago where your old coach Tanisha was like, "Yeah, you should check out NJ, or you should
Hmm.
you should share her story." So I think you've done an excellent job as far as presenting yourself as a genuine human being, NJ.
Thank you.
I may have mentioned this last year, but since you've had some practice with hairstyling and I imagine you've been exploring other interests as well, whenever you decide to transition from your playing career, where do you see yourself as far as a career path?
I do want to open or just start my own business so that I'm able to, like work for myself and just try something new rather than or going to physical training while I'm starting my new business, or like I want to go into kind of physical training and then while I'm doing that, be able to stack up money so that I can open up a business. That'd be a better way of putting it.
And what kind of business are you looking to get into?
A boutique, or even open up a hair shop.
And you also noted physical training. I've got a couple of
Mhm.
friends who do that as a career field as well. A good friend of mine who just moved recently, she was a coach for a long time up here, would do training sessions with athletes. So you
Good.
could incorporate that too if that's something
Okay.
you wanted to get into. I've got some contacts. I could get you in touch with them if you'd like after we're finished taping.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I'm always about trying to help others succeed as well. And speaking of success, NJ, you had a lot of that when you were able to finally suit up. So earlier you mentioned the waiting period, the stress and the
Mhm.
uncertainty. And I think no matter what, whenever there's something you can't control, whenever there's a question about what comes next, I think it always unnerves us to a degree. So when you found out that you would get the green light that yes, you were going to have a season, it wouldn't be like normal years, but you would get a chance to showcase your skills again for the Greyhounds at Moberly. How excited were you?
I was pretty excited just because I seen so many teams around me like canceling their seasons, and I didn't have the chance to play my championship game in high school. I was just excited to get the chance to play, or to eventually play for one in college.
So, what was it like having to play under protocols? So, spectators were limited if they were allowed at all, and that was the case all the way through the tournament in
Mhm.
D1. You had all these other factors, but you were still able to go out there and play. You were all region first team, if I recall, and you picked up a few other honors along the way. So, what would you make of your experience playing junior college basketball?
Definitely made me a better player and definitely made me an overall better person, I believe. I'm just grateful being able to play with the team that I had, under the coaches that I had, and just to thank them all for, adding to my game, adding to my, I guess, personnel overall. I'm just lucky that I landed there, and I'm happy with the decision I made.
The better player aspect that I can understand, but you said it also helped make you a better person. In what ways do
Mhm.
you feel your season at Moberly helped better yourself?
I think my overall leadership skills, sometimes I would be hesitant to speak up just because I was younger. But now, I feel like that transition over to Lamar, I'm more willing to like speak up, like on things that I see. And let's see what else. I think that's probably the biggest thing, just not being afraid to speak up. Although I may not be the oldest, I still want to speak up for or what's right, or if something's going wrong, tell them, fix it.
I'll have to keep that in mind, NJ. So if I do something silly, you won't be afraid to
Mhm.
call me out or anyone else out now.
Right.
What would you say? What was that journey like? Because I remember seeing you at De La Salle, and there was a mild mannered vibe about you with interviews and the like. You would go in there, do your work, and it wasn't like you were submissive or passive. I think, like you were saying, maybe you just weren't the loudest, but
Mhm.
it sounds like playing at the junior college level where everybody, I believe, is trying to find a roster spot on a Division 1 team. It sounds like
Right.
that was a catalyst to make you more vocal
Mhm.
and more assertive, if you know what I mean. So, how would you assess that transformation?
Um, Also, I feel like not having fans played a part in me becoming more vocal because we had to make up for the noise. Our coach, always wanted us to cheer each other on top of that. So just having no fans makes you go that extra mile just so you can feel the empty noise in the gym. Um, and also you just want to make yourself stand out. coaches notice like when a player's not cheering their team on or bad body language. So I always did try to have good body language on the bench as well as, cheering my teammates on and just talking whenever I can.
And I imagine one element that got you noticed by Lamar and other schools, you didn't score the most, 12.2 points per game. So you weren't putting up crazy numbers like Ari McDonald, for example, or other high profile scorers, but you did rank highly in field goal percentage, 4th overall in Division I JUCO, 2nd in your conference. I guess I'm not surprised because I see you play and I've always thought of you as a strong low post player, but what would you say allowed you to thrive in the junior college setting and continue some of the talents that you had established when you were a high school athlete at De La Salle?
What helped me thrive was just, I guess, not being restricted to just the post. I got to like move around the court more freely, like high post or outside the perimeter. Like my coach Hayden, would encourage me, like, shooting outside the perimeter, especially when I'm open, because sometimes, I wouldn't take the shot or I'd pass it up. And, just being willing to bring the ball up the court, I like on a fast break if I get a rebound rather than looking for a guard. So she did encourage me to do that. And I think that made me more comfortable to like play other positions if needed and stuff like that.
And I shouldn't sell you short for anyone who's watching this, because as I went over your numbers, you did rank 8th in the conference in scoring at 11th. So it wasn't like you were all the way down the list. So just wanted to get that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you couldn't have fans, what would you say was the most exciting moments of the junior college season you played at Moberly, and the most embarrassing moment?
Most exciting, let's see. There was this game. So Mineral Area was one of our region teams that we played. So we played them 3 times. We like won by double digits the first 2 times, but the second time was a real close game, and it came down to like the end. We kept going back and forth, trading buckets, and I think towards the end they were up. I don't remember by how much, but we had to fight to come back, and I just think it was fun. Honestly, I like the close games like that when you come out on top. It was fun being able to fight back and take that win together as a team, because we even went like deep into our bench, into like one of our players. She came in, got a big steal, made a big bucket, and I think it tied the game or might probably put us up 1. And then we got another play where a teammate of mine got a steal on the sideline, and we got pushed up the court. So that was just fun, being able to come back with them like that. We all get to play together as a team and enjoy that victory together. And most embarrassing, honestly, probably. So 3 Rivers is another team. We just lost to them each time we played them. So I always say it's hard for a team to beat another team 3 times, but they did it.
Okay, and I was looking more for like a silly moment, not necessarily losing to a team 3 times, but
I can't really think of a silly moment.
Well, then again, you do have a pretty strong composure about yourself, so you probably wouldn't. You never commit a single blooper when you're playing, right?
No. I commit some bloopers. If I can think of one, or if one comes to me.
Maybe we'll save that for the next time we do this, when we talk about your experience at Lamar, and well, or who knows, with the way the transfer rule works now. But one step at a time.
Right.
So next year you will be a member of the Western Athletic Conference, the WAC. A lot of Texas schools in that group, and maybe not schools you would know on a first name basis. Stephen F. Austin is one. They have done well when it comes to tournament play, but a lot of these schools might elude most casual fans. But you will get to potentially stake a claim for Lamar and that conference. So I don't want to say it's the same thing as playing a at the junior college level, the D1 JUCO, but what excites you as you get ready for that transition? I know you had your summer workouts, and when you go back, you'll start the fall term and hopefully start that path to making a name for yourself with the Cardinals. So, what are you most excited about for the next leg of your journey?
Just playing with a new team, being introduced to new players, especially like down in Texas, just to see what the style of play is like down there, I guess. And also, I think this would probably be my first time being coached by all female staff too. So it's gonna be fun seeing what that's like and seeing like what different techniques and stuff they'll use in practice or in games, and just overall.
And of course, a lot of athletes from Minnesota have followed your path. There were a couple of friends I know. I think you and I have some mutual friends actually who
Mhm.
decided to start their college careers at the JUCO level, either because they didn't get the offers they were looking for or they weren't sure where they wanted to go. So they're taking the same path you did. So whether it's the seniors who are just about to start their college careers or the players coming up behind you, I know you still keep in touch with some of them. What would you say, based on your experience, to the younger class of athletes who are considering the JUCO route before settling on a four-year university?
That is not a bad thing because I feel like a lot of people paint a negative picture on JUCO just because it's not like D1 or what they want. But it's not a bad thing. It does give you another year of growth and development. Um, it just allows you to grow all the way around as a person and as a player. And I feel like it can get you more exposure too once you start playing JUCO because you're still playing other college students and stuff like that. And also, I do think it's more competitive because everybody is trying to make it out and they're all fighting for a spot to get on a roster at a higher level. So I do feel like it brings that out of you too.
Now, I presume you've had a chance to get to know the coaches, of course, and having an all-female team. I know that's
Mhm.
been getting more press these days, whether it's the Minnesota Lynx and their staff, and down the line at the D1 level, more female coaches being adamant about including other women on their coaching staff. So, what have you been able to learn so far about your coaches and your teammates, and how do you see those relationships growing once you get the chance to go in the trenches?
Um, what I learned about them, I just see like the different personalities. So like everyone's not the same on the team. And also like they teach me more about like a lot of them are from Texas though, or like the Texas area. So I learn more about like Texas itself and what it's like down there. Um, and I think that but we all still like have fun and we do have a lot of um common things or things in common. And I think it'll all be fun down the road.
And I imagine another thing you're looking forward to is spending winters in Texas as opposed to
Mhm.
winters up here where we get polar vortexes and big snowstorms. This last winter actually was pretty merciful on us, but
Right.
I'm guessing you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, it actually is, or it was real hot down there when I was just down there. Something I am not used to, especially like at night, the temperature barely drops.
I think it might have something to do with the fact that Beaumont is right along the Gulf of Mexico, so you get that Gulf
Mm,
moisture coming up. So if you like free saunas, I guess you found the right place.
right.
I think you'll do just fine down there. Anything else you'd like to add about your story at Moberly, about this past season and just navigating all of this uncertainty, which is what all of us have done? But anything else you would like to add about this journey and what you feel you've accomplished over the last year?
I guess over this journey, I learned to bet on myself more, not being scared in the decisions that I choose to make, um, in my style of play and stuff like that. Always being confident in myself, in what I do, how I practice, how I perform, things like that. So I think it made me stronger mentally and it boosted my confidence more too.
It's always a challenge, but I think it's fun too to bring back former guests because we got a chance to learn your story last year as we were all still at home, and then hearing about all of the achievements, all the accolades you earned at Moberly, and finding out you were going to Lamar. I know you still have a big fan base up here.
Mhm.
Hopefully, some of them will be able to make the trek down to Beaumont this upcoming
Right.
season. But it's always fun to hear how you've grown, how you've changed, and as you've alluded to, you're more confident to bet on yourself, more confident as a speaker, as a leader. And whatever happens at Lamar, whatever your record is, no matter how many points you score, I get the sense that what you did at Moberly will pay big dividends, not just at Lamar, but as you continue to establish yourself as an athlete and as a burgeoning businesswoman.
Right.
Well, NJ, I always enjoy having you on. It's always fun to hear what you've been up to. And I know I missed covering those post ups, those high low plays that you would always finish. But maybe at Lamar, or maybe something will work out where I get to do that again. But it's always good to hear from you. And I can't wait to hear about all the future successes that are coming your way.
I can't wait to be back.
I think we're all looking forward to that and
Mhm.
some sense of normalcy, we hope. But thanks again, NJ. And I know I'll be cheering you on unless Lamar plays Minnesota. In that case, Minnesota's my alma mater, so I might have to. No, I tease. Uh, I always cheer for everybody, which is the hardest part about being a broadcaster. Is
Right.
you want to root for everybody, and so inevitably that leads to some showdowns where you have groups of friends going against each other. But you know what? That might be fun too, because your old buddy Kiani is going to play at Creighton in a couple
Hmm.
of years, and a few other friends of yours are starting their path. So that gives you something to look forward to, I suppose. If they all go
Yep.
D1, maybe you all get to play each other.
Hopefully.
We'll see what happens. But thanks again, NJ, and best of luck as you get ready for your first season with the Cardinals.
All right. Thank you.
Once again, NJ Weems, who you can see at Lamar University next season. And if you want to be a guest for a future episode of this podcast, just hit us up on social media at the Mike Peden or on Twitter or Instagram. All you need is a good story, and we are happy to share it. So until next time, thanks for watching.